Hi, this is Professor Schaefer, and I want to spend a moment with you on how to solve questions like you'll find on uh, problem 6.24. And so problem 6.24 has several types of problems. It has a problem like example 1 that I'm putting in here. I'm not using the exact problems in 6.24. I'll let you do those on your own. Another type of problem, I'll call this example 2. Those problems would look like this. The probability that, let's use a parenthesis, that z is less than or equal to some number, and I'm going to make this one up too. How about 0.75? So z is greater than, or sorry, did I say less than? Let's take less than 0.75. And the third example, and they only vary to this extent. Here we go. As I'm typing this in, the probability that z is greater than some value. And let's make that negative 0.48. Okay, so we have these three types of questions we can ask. Z is between two values, z is less than a stated value, or z is greater than some stated value. Okay, so let's do example 1. I am going to look for a z-score of negative 1.5. I find that by just moving down this column, and I find negative 1.5, and the z-score associated with that value is 0.0668. I'm going to jot that down here, and 0.0668, just to keep tabs on that number. And now I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to go to the next page and find the z-score associated with 2.22. Now, I need to go to the next page because if you look here, the z-scores go from about negative 4 all the way down to 0. The next page has from 0 to what is essentially positive 4. Okay, so let me do that, and when I click here, I'm going to lose my sticky note for a moment. And here we go. Let's go to the next page. Now remember what we're looking for. We're looking for a z-score of 2.22. So here are the positive z values. Here's 2.2. Now how do I find 2.22? Well, here's 2.20. Remember, we're looking up here to find those hundredths of a decimal place, right? Going all the way up to 0.09. That's just the hundredths place. So let's go back to here. I want to find 2.22. So this is 2.20, 2.21, and 2.22. Now if you read that carefully, it looks like it says 0.9868. So let me jot that down. 0.9868. Okay. Now, if I want to find the probability that z lies between these two standard deviations, and here are the probabilities, all I have to do is subtract this one from, I've got to say that the right way, I have to subtract from this value the smaller value. Now, it happens to be that I can do that in my head, only because the numbers work out so nice and neat. So it's 0.9200, and the probability that z is between this value and this value is 92%, or 0.9200. Okay, let's go on to the next problem, problem 2, which is also relatively simple. Now in problem 2, I need to find the probability that z is less than some number. And if I can remind you, taking a look at this chart up here, this is an indication of what the table is really telling you. So for any z-score that I'm looking up, and here are the z-scores for any of these, the number inside here, this 4-digit number, represents the probability of anything being less than that value. That's why this is in blue. So example 2 is one of the easiest types that I could ever ask you. All I want to know is what the probability is of z being less than 0.75. So I go to my z-score of 0.75. I need to find that, and I'm looking right here. If I follow all the way across the column, or row, I guess, and I look for this column here, you can tell I'm at the 0.5 here, 0.05. So what is the probability associated with a 0.75 z-score? It's this one, 0.7734. And the truth is, all I have to do is jot that down, and that's my answer. I'm done with example 2. So any problem that's like this is just one simple lookup on the table and you're done. And again, I'm looking at 6.24. It looks like problem B is like that. Looks like problem E is like that. Looks like C is like that. So very simple to do. Okay, let's take you to one other example. And that's example 3. When z is great, we want to know the probability that z is greater than some stated value. Okay, so I need to look this up on the table again. I'm going to do that all the time, look up these z-scores. But the question is, what do I do with that probability when I find it? So let me go back to the previous page, because this is a negative z-score. I don't find that here. I have to move back to the previous page. So I'll temporarily lose my sticky note. So let me go back to the previous page. Okay, it looks like I'll be down here in this category. Let me call up my sticky note. Here it is. I'll put that up here this time so it's a little bit out of the way, I hope. I want to find negative 0.48. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm looking down my z-score. I'm going to find negative 0.4. So that's here. Now I need negative 0.48. So that's causing me, or requires of me, to move over until I'm at the 8th 100th spot. So that's right here. So it looks like I have this number 0.3156. So let me just jot that down. 0.3156. Okay, that's the probability associated with negative 0.48. Now I need to draw your attention to something. This probability is the probability of z being less than negative 0.48. How do I know that? The chart tells me this. Let me pull this chart down for you again so you see this a little bit more clearly. Okay, so if I look up 0.48 and that's here, the probability or that percentage, that decimal that we found, is the area to the left, always to the left of that z-score. If I want to know, according to my problem here, what the probability is of being above or greater than negative 0.48, that would sort of represent this white area. Now, if the whole area is equal to 1, which it is, right? All of the area, 100% of the area is 1.00. And I know that from here to here is negative 0.3156, like I found. What's the area of this white region? Well, that's just this. It's just 1 minus that value. And we're going to figure that out. Won't take us too long. And when we do, that's the area under here, or the probability that z is greater than that value. Okay, so just take a moment and see if you can calculate that. I'll try to do that here. And that value is 0.6844. And we're done. In other words, the probability that z will be greater than negative 0.48 is 68%, or 0.6844. So let me just again remind you that when you're showing decimal places, percentages, you move the decimal 2 places to the right and you're done. All right, these I think I have wrong numbers here. Sorry, guys. This would be an equivalent statement. Okay? Well, I hope that helps you, and good luck with problem 6.24.